After a tough loss a couple nights ago, the Cleveland Cavaliers get back on track with a 108-100 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies here on Saturday night. And there's a lot to talk about with this game, but I think where we have to start is the fourth quarter, because that's really where the game was decided, where the Cavaliers came back and were able to, thanks to Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, really get this offense rolling and really find a groove in the final couple minutes of the game to get them over the edge of what was really not a great offensive night overall for the Wine and Gold. But that fourth quarter is where it counted, and the Cavaliers ended up coming up and winning the game. I'm Tommy Wild, Spencer Davies on site there. We're going to break down some of the key takeaways and observations that each of us saw from tonight's game. And again, starting with that fourth quarter, I mean, Spencer, what was the first thing, kind of main takeaway that you had from those final 12 minutes of tonight?
Defense, a lot of strength being shown by the Cavs. It was that. It wasn't the offense. The offense was stuck in mud the whole night. Very similar to what was going on in that Toronto Raptors game. Coach Kenny Atkinson said that after the game. Felt like the same exact thing that happened last game. But luckily, they have all-stars that can bail them out. And Donovan Mitchell started making some threes, whether it was the catch-shoot variety or the pull-up variety. He really started kind of turning it up and asserting himself. But also, Evan Mobley did that. Drew up an ATO for him out of a timeout, got him going with a three. Then, he got to a little bit of that mid-range, and then he had the drive and kick on the baseline. So Evan started to activate a little bit more, had a nice little short fadeaway, floater thing with his right hand. It was much better. It was much better to see from those two. But overall, yeah, just not a good offensive night. Defense was their calling card in the second half, and obviously the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, they give up 16. That's tough to do against any NBA team. That is a very good jumping off point for them to try and get this thing righted. 61 in the first half, can't have that. Ja Morant exits, after one stint of basketball with a right calf strain, and then all of a sudden they're finding different guys to be point guard for him, and somehow they were working it out. And the Cavs just they're not running right now, right? They're getting beat down the floor. That includes Zach Edey, by the way. Edey was beating them down the floor, and I was like, okay, guys, you got to make sure that you're conditioned and stuff. But they keep pointing to the schedule, talking this is just kind of what's happening right now. They're not using it as an excuse, but they're aware that they're tired. So tomorrow, what they're going to do, Kenny said, we're going to let them sleep in, and then we're going to have a film session, and then that's what's going to be tomorrow. So I feel like it's just kind of one of those things where every NBA team goes through a lull at some point of the season. Theirs just coming early, and they're not used to seeing it come this early. And once I get these videos up on YouTube when we're done, Donovan Mitchell's interview was fantastic. Evan Mobley's interview was fantastic, just talking about the mental, getting through this mentally, getting through this. It's not just the physical grind, it's the mental grind to be able to push through when you're doing the right things, but shots are not falling and you're playing the right defense, but somehow it squeezes out and somebody picks it up for an easy dunk. Those are things you have to fight through. You have to know how to handle mentally and do it by process and not result all the time. And yeah, last game was really tough to watch. Evan Mobley, his performance, Kenny said, throw it out the door. That's one of those nights you don't want to see that again. Evan was much more aggressive, especially in the fourth quarter, and that was good to see. But yeah, that's my main takeaway from tonight. It's the mental grind that the Cavs are going through right now, that they just have to figure it out. They got to figure it out. And they're being forced to figure it out. And I'm sorry that I'm going on a little bit.
No, it's okay. You go.
Yeah.
Pop off.
Donovan, said this is you go 15-0 last year, and you're not going through any adversity. So the first time you experienced adversity, because they had all those wins last year, 64 wins, the first time they experienced adversity was a game 2 in the playoffs, right? So now they're like, okay, we know how to bounce back from this. We know how to respond when we're knocked down. And the fact that it's happening in mid-November is really so much better. And the fact that they're going through their injury problems right now is so much better, because it's forcing them to find a way out, to climb out of that hole. And mentally, I think that's good for them going forward.
And I think you talk about this mental toughness, and I think it's important, and I think it's shows the mental toughness is even on a night when your shots aren't falling, you can easily get in this trap of like, I'm done, like, kind of lose it. But for them not to have that carry over on the defensive end, like I'm looking here at our stat sheet, and the Cavs had 9 points off turnovers in the fourth quarter. I mean, when you have a team that's not making shots, it's so easy to just give up on the defensive end. But to their credit, they didn't. And I think that's probably one of the big differences from tonight is that they kept that mental strength. Even when they know shots were falling, they didn't let it affect them on the defensive end. And that really was the difference maker in this game. Donovan Mitchell certainly helped with some big shots along the way, but as a team, not letting that offense affect the defensive end, you can't teach that. It's just something you have to get through. And I think they showed that tonight.
Great point. Great point. Dean Wade, you look at the box score, you're like, wait a minute. How does a guy with 4 points and 4 rebounds have a plus 22 in the box score? Well, because he pulled down some really key rebounds. He defended his butt off against a lot of the drivers, and he had a key rejection there in the fourth quarter. Thought he did a really solid job in that final frame. Lonzo Ball was really good tonight. I know it says 5 turnovers, but really you can throw like 3 of those turnovers out the window because his Cavs teammates just are not ready for the ball right now. And yeah. I'm joking with a lot of the media personnel here. I'm like, Lonzo's going to be sending Venmo requests to his teammates for every time that they drop a pass that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Still got to get on the same page with him on there. I do want to also point out, before we even started this, I was like, we got to talk about Nae'Qwan Tomlin.
Yeah.
This is like a week long of sample now, right? It started in Miami on Wednesday, Thursday, and then tonight. This guy comes in and all of a sudden just gives life, breathes life into the Cavs. And should that be the case for this team, that a two-way guy has to get you out on that kind of energy? Probably not. But while they're going through this lull, someone who's not in a lull at all energy-wise is Nae'Qwan Tomlin. Mm-hmm. He comes in there, he's grabbing rebounds. If you look at him when he's playing defense, I kind of compare him to that kid that just takes gym too seriously. And, he's moving all over the place and getting in someone's head. Multiple times tonight, just deflections, getting his arms out. When he's running the floor, it looks like an animal. It's great. It's like a deer sprinting across the woods. It's really fun to watch. He had a really nice pass to Dean Wade on the baseline for an easy cut dunk. So offensively, you can see that he's thinking the game, he's reading the game. But my thing that stood out for me, man, was Nae'Qwan was guarding Jaren Jackson Jr. And he was frustrating Jaren Jackson Jr. He actually drew an offensive foul from JJJ, elbowed him a little bit in the back of the head. They reviewed it. It was not flagrant. It was contact, but it wasn't something that would warrant getting him out of the game or getting an extra free throw. But in multiple possessions in the third quarter, he was getting all over, and the beginning of the fourth really was getting all over JJJ, and that's big time for a two-way guy to be able to match up with someone like JJJ, who's been an all-star before, is a proven talent in this league. To be able to match up with him and do the job he did, I think is commendable. And again, it's something about his energy that's picking up this team right now, and Nae'Qwan's earning playing time right now. It is tough. It's tough to choose between what young guys are going to play. And is this going to be the case, a month or two from now? I don't know. But right now, that guy needs to play. Yeah. That guy needs to play a lot.
Yeah. I even think back to when you were interviewing him during Summer League, and he made the comment of I think that I'm ready to contribute to an NBA rotation. And of course, everyone says that, that's just something that guys are going to say, of course, I'm ready right now. But, he played really well in Summer League, and now he's finally getting that opportunity coming into the season. We didn't know if that was going to happen just because of how deep the bench already was. But, he told you back in the summer he was ready for this opportunity, and he's certainly showing that he can score if he needs to score. He can play defense if he needs to play defense. He can truly just do whatever it is that he needs to contribute here. And I think he said that back in the summer, and he's proving it right now.
And I'm proud of him, too, because he only had 3 personal fouls. He picked up 2 of them in maybe 15 seconds because he is a very aggressive defender. He will slap down on your arm. He will definitely go for that steal. He's not afraid to go and fight for rebounds. So he picks up fouls very quickly. But tonight, pretty clean sheet for him. So proud of him in that regard. But yeah, this is a guy that's still learning how to play professional basketball.
Right.
Mind you, this is a player that has only been in basketball for 5 years, 6 years. Like that's,
Yeah.
I think, still astounding that in 5 years of your life you can go from not playing at all, the sport at all, to
Hmm.
being in the National Basketball Association, matching up with an all-star in a game, a real game.
Yeah.
So big time from Nae'Qwan, and they need that too, because I'm going to pivot here a little bit, and I don't want to be a downer here at all, but Larry Nance Jr. right now, it's kind of awkward. It's kind of awkward watching him play basketball. He picked up 3 fouls in a minute 26 of floor time. His first minute 26. He picked up 3 fouls. He missed both jumpers that he tried from beyond the arc. He came off the floor. He threw his headband and he was really frustrated. We know Junior can play basketball. Let's not go anywhere,
Hmm.
other than that. But right now, it's just not clicking for him for some reason. He hasn't been able to make any shots. Defensively, he's getting called for fouls. It's just hasn't looked like Junior. So I think personally, at least for the next week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, I think Thomas Bryant needs to be ahead of him in the rotation for now, just because Bryant's kind of a more imposing figure. He can get your rebounds, he can block shots, all that stuff. But also, going back to what we were talking about with Nae'Qwan, if Nae'Qwan's playing the way he is, then he should be above him in the rotation right now. I'm not saying,
Hmm.
come playoff time or anything like that, because Junior's the reason he's there. He's here is because of playoffs. Same thing with Lonzo Ball. The reason he's
Right.
here is because of playoffs. But in this moment, I think that it'd be good for them to maybe say a little DNP-CD for him a couple of games straight, 3 games straight, get his mind right. Maybe now that they're home, they still have 4 more games on this homestand. Get him back feeling comfortable again.
Right.
Because it's been tough. It's been tough to watch Larry. Honestly, the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's hard to, especially in basketball when you're playing. I feel like the Cavs have had so many really close games the last 4 or 5 games. Hopefully they can maybe get ahead in one of these games and build themselves a 15, 20-point lead, and that can be an opportunity where he comes in and knocks down a few shots or gets a block or a steal here and there, and just again, like you said, proves to himself that he's still able to get his mind right and in the game. But yeah, the with all the injuries too, like there's definitely going to be some interesting decisions that Kenny has to make over the next few days and few games to make sure everyone's getting their touches while still being competitive. Kind
Most
of pivot.
definitely.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the other one I wanted to highlight too. Lonzo Ball was fantastic tonight. Again, ignore the 5 turnovers. It was more like 2 turnovers.
Hmm.
Every time he passes the ball to a teammate, he thinks they're gonna stay there, but they cut. Right? That's
Yeah.
something that Evan Mobley and him are gonna have to work on. Ask Kenny Atkinson about that after the game, because Zoe finds Jared Allen fine. Whether it's in the pocket, whether it's straight line drive, an entry pass. Yes, those still exist, even though it is 2025. Entry pass do exist still in the basketball world. So he's good at that. Gets the ball moving down the floor, advances the ball. He had 6 rebounds in the first quarter, which is pretty crazy. Finished with 7, but I mean, just his impact on the glass there. And then, I'm not a fan of these shots. I know Kenny was, slapping him on the back after making these, but he hit 3 out of 5 threes. I would say that one of them was a good shot. I think he made a step back 3 ball in the first half, and I was like, terrible shot early in the shot clock,
Yeah.
but nailed it. He had another opportunity in transition one he missed. That way I thought was the best shot that he got. But just kind of noticing Lonzo's game, he's not going to be someone that takes to the hole. He's very perimeter oriented. Almost, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I just think he's got a little bit of Ben Simmons in him. When
Mhm.
he gets close to the rim, he's just automatically looking to spray out. I don't see him taking many layups. I don't see him finishing through contact. He's somebody that's going to spray out, find a teammate, or find somebody who's cutting inside. So that's Lonzo's game. But if they get this version of him, I think that's good. And defensively, I think he's gotten a pretty tough whistle this year, to be honest. He looks like his lateral slides are really good, and he keeps his arms behind his back so he doesn't get called for these. But for some reason, the officials are still seeing his shoulder make contact, or maybe there's just a slight hand on a hip for him. But I think he's been playing some good ball. The last few games, to be honest. The one in Miami was fantastic too. He played really good. So you look at the box score. Yes, 9, 7, and 5. Okay. But if you get that kind of production off the bench and you're hitting multiple areas to impact winning, then you're doing something right.
Yeah. So I think to wrap it up here, and I think we got to talk about what wrapped up the game. Donovan Mitchell, he didn't have a great first half, just like the rest of the offense, not all that great. But in the fourth quarter alone, he played all 12 minutes. He scored 14 points. He shot 60% from behind the arc, 3 for 5, and he shot that was free throws. He shot 4 for 8 from the field, 50%. I mean, it's incredible when he recognizes when it's time for him to take over. And he talked about this last year with trying to get more people involved, whether that's Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. And you can kind of tell he takes that passive approach the first 3 quarters tonight. And then he recognizes, okay, it's time for me to take over. It's time for me to end this game. And he does it. That's the crazy part about it, is that he's so efficient in those clutch moments. I mean, I would love to get in the side of his head and what tells him that, now is the time. Now is time for me to flip the switch. But I mean, he did it tonight, and he looked incredible in that fourth quarter.
It's probably a momentum thing. I think he probably noticed that they started to get a string of stops, and he's like, okay, this is the time that I have to attack. And he got downhill, he got to the free throw line.
Got the steal for Jared Allen. That was
got
big
the
too.
Steal, and it's fun to watch him operate like that. I still think that he's taking too many dang threes, and I know that Kenny loves it, but I love my favorite version of Donovan Mitchell is running back Donovan Mitchell. When he shoulder checks someone, gets an and one, and then he's flexing afterwards. But this is something that I have to get used to. Donovan talks about energy conservation in the regular season, making sure that he's not putting every bit of gas in the tank that he has into these games. People might hear that and say, well, what are you doing? This is what you get paid to do. The playoffs is when you're going to need that, right? So maybe that's the reason he's doing the stuff he is, to take more jumpers, work on his 3-point shot. And then, like, in times of winning, you see the usual Donovan Mitchell come out. And man, I still remember when he got the switch on Jock Landale. Poor Jock was out there all by his lonesome on the top of the key, and he just did his patented swoop to the left, dribble crossover, step back left, and then hit the 3 right on it. And I was like, okay, yep, this is probably it. So you can tell when Donovan's got the juice. He's got more lift in his jumper. You'll be able to tell right away when he's feeling that adrenaline kick in. So this is what Donovan's doing this year, and part of it also is trying to get Evan Mobley to come out of his shell a little bit more. I think, again, the fourth quarter, not enough credit going to Evan because he kind of got it started again with that ATO 3-pointer that he had, getting to his right fadeaway one-hand push shot.
Again, in there too on the defensive end.
I mean, we haven't even talked about his block on Zach Edey's dunk. Holy crap. Like that. See, this is exactly why I say, like, you can't take a talent like this for granted if you're a fan. And I understand that there's some impatience and there's times where Evan does kind of look deer in the headlights, but he's 24 years old. It's one of those things, like, if you're watching every single game and expecting the same thing every single game, it just ain't going to be that right now. He has to be better. I understand that. And it's even tough for me sometimes too, because, like when I'm caught, defending him and he comes out and does what he did on Thursday, like, I have no case. But tonight, I think, took a step in the right direction. 13 boards, a lot more boards in the second half tonight too. Crashed the glass. Ended up with four dimes.
That's against a pretty tough Memphis front court too, with Edey.
With Edey, yeah.
Jackson, like those are 13 earned rebounds for sure.
No doubt. And then, you get 4 blocks out of them. So, player of the year candidate. This is still somebody who is developing in his offensive game, and there's a lot being thrown at him right now. And to be honest, the Cavs, I want to say this. We'll close with this. Donovan Mitchell, he said right away, because a lot of questions, including for myself, I was just like, how does this team identity compare to last year? right? Like, because it seems like everything's a little bit off. And he immediately went like, well, it is different because we don't have our starting point guard and we don't have our starting, our usual starting
Yeah.
three, which a lot of people don't want to come to grips with, but it is the truth. And then he started going into more of the answers, and we're asking very similar questions about identity. And he's like, look, guys, we just got to drop last year. No, last year's over.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new team. This is a new year. Like, we just got to drop it. And he did it very respectfully and all that stuff. Like, but he came out and said it. He's like, quit talking about last season is basically the message. And I understand it. I understand it from his perspective. And, a lot of those questions haunted him over the summer. And he knew that would be happening. But in those answers, he was like, it's not the same team. It's not the same team. We've got younger guys playing now. We've got different roles, like Evan Mobley having to really up his usage, finding ways to penetrate and to pass the ball when Darius Garland's not playing. Max Strus being one of their top energy guys, one of their best rebounders that's not 7 feet, that hasn't played all year. We're even missing, Jalen Tyson at this moment, who's going through concussion protocol. So I know it's hard. I know it's hard in the moment, and I get the frustrations. I really do. But if you're going to close the book on this team on November 14th, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that if I was people.
It's funny when people talk about identity in sports, and identities always change because the players on the teams always change. I mean, I forget where I heard this. I feel like it was a manager in baseball, but they said, identity is something you don't choose. You form your identity. And right now we're watching the Cavs form their identity. This isn't the same team as last year. They've already gone through much more adversity, but they're forming that identity, and that identity they form throughout this season can end up helping them even more in the playoffs. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But like you said, I mean, this team is still developing. It's still growing, and it's fun to watch that develop. That's why you watch the regular season, so you can watch the team form an identity. And going back and wrapping this all up, that mental grind is the identity that they're forming. This needs to be a mentally stronger team. They said it back after the playoff loss to the Pacers, and they're building that mental strength right now with, all of the adversity they're facing.
Yep, no doubt, man. And, even looking back to that mental grind too, Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell, they were going through foul trouble the whole game. So that's another thing. That's an in-game mental toughness that you have to find, not just in-season mental toughness, in-game mental toughness. A lot of guys that were in foul trouble. It was a chippy, choppy game. To start the half. I think it was like midway through the second quarter, there were already like 24 fouls called or something like that. So not easy to do, but found a way, got through it. Wasn't the prettiest game, but defensively grinded it out. Kind of shades of past Cavs teams, if you will.
For sure. Well, that kind of wraps up our analysis from the Cavaliers' big get back on track win over the Memphis Grizzlies. Next up for the Cavs, they'll take on the Milwaukee Bucks at Rocket Arena now on Monday night as they continue this homestand. For Tommy Wild, for Spencer Davies, please make sure to join us on our CavsRoundtable.com for more discussion, more analysis of overall games. We'll be happy to hear your voice there. But for now, we'll see you on the next one.